We have so much to show you today. There are things we haven't talked about in a while, and things that are just now happening because of the weather and the changing season. Summer is slowly winding down, and we want to take you all over the homestead today so you can see what that means for us. In our last video, some people mentioned how beautiful our garden is looking and that they're jealous because they're having a drought right now. You got to remember that our videos are at least a week or two behind, and now we're in that phase. We've got kind of a drought going on right now. Everything is so dry. Pastures are dry, grass is not really growing at all. So I've actually been feeding Hero some hay, which just feels crazy. We're in August, but hopefully we'll get some rain again soon. I don't think it's as bad here as it is some places, but it is still really, really dry. And Michelle's gonna talk more about that later when she goes into the garden. A lot of you know that we sold our milk cow, Maddie, a few weeks ago. That was really sad. Hey, Maddie. It's been a little rough in some ways, but we still get to see her like every week because we can still get milk from her from the farm that she went to. So that's really cool. I do miss coming out here every morning and milking the cow, but now I've been coming outside every morning, giving him a little bit of feed, petting him, and then just kind of taking the time in the morning to just walk around a little bit, maybe walk through the woods a little bit or something. So it has been really nice and restful. We've got this pasture up front here that's divided into 3 paddocks that I can rotate Hero around in, and that helps with not having as much grass right now, but it's still just not keeping up. I don't know if you can see here, but there's a good bit here, but this is where the chickens are right now, and I don't want to put Hero in with the chickens. I'm afraid he'll just like push the chicken pens and fences around and stuff. But a lot of that is weeds. This section of the pasture here doesn't really grow very nice because this is like my winter sacrifice area. It just gets stomped on and eaten down all fall and winter and stuff, so it never really grows that great. It's not a whole lot of good stuff here. The rest of the pasture is just so dry. Then we've got another pasture in the back of our property that I would normally have cows in. That's divided into 3 sections, but Hero got out of that fence the other day. That fence back there doesn't shock as well as this one up here. And it was soon after Maddie left, and I think he thought Maddie was up here, and I found him up here by the barn in the morning. So I'm just a little bit nervous about putting him back there again. There's not really that much grass back there either. Stuff is not growing right now.
Watering has become a normal part of my morning routine and some of my evening routine right now. Ohio, according to Google, is experiencing the worst drought that it's experienced in 20 years. So it's pretty substantial. The ground is cracking. Everything is so dry. My tomatoes have quit giving as many tomatoes because it's so dry. So I've been having to water a lot. Quick update on this salad green bed up here. It had looked really good for a while. Everything had germinated really well, like these 2 beds up here. But then the cat decided to start using this as his litter box. And he took out a couple rows of lettuce here, which was really, really frustrating. And also it just got really hot. The tiny fragile lettuce just didn't have a chance. It literally just wilted off. So I'm gonna have to replant, maybe put a shade cloth over it to keep the cat out and to protect it from these really hot, dry days. This is my carrot bed that should be ready very soon. I'm a little bit worried about it because it got really, really dry there for a while, and I'm just not used to having to water in the summertime. And so I neglected it, but hopefully they'll still be okay. I guess I could pull one and see. Oh, they're fine. I don't think you have to worry about that. If even half of them are like this, I'll be happy. Carrots are a staple for us, so I've just been watering these pretty much every single day. I try to have all the watering on a bit of a routine, but it gets so hot that it's almost like you have to water everything every day. So every spare minute I have from preserving and canning, I just have to pop out in the garden and water. I'm also having to water all the evergreens out along our property. It's just a lot of watering. It makes me so grateful for Ohio weather, for normal Ohio weather. I also have sprinklers that I like to use, but I've mostly had those on the lawn The times where I'm not actually watering my garden, I like to turn on the sprinklers in the lawn because our lawn was just going to nothing. It was just brown and dead, crispy and dry, and I can't stand that. People ask us if we have like drip systems or watering systems set up, and honestly we don't, just because we don't normally need it. The only time I have to water is in the springtime. This is very, very abnormal for me. If I had to water this much all the time, every year, I would definitely have a drip system. This has been a banger year for me when it comes to herbs. I'm so excited about all the herbs that I got this year. Definitely more than I've ever done before. I ended up pulling the parsley and also the calendula. The calendula is already reseeding. There's like all these little patches of calendula coming up again, so maybe I'll have more in the fall, we'll see. I pulled the calendula and the parsley just to give the rest of the herbs more space to flourish, because I felt like maybe they didn't have quite enough space. I'll show you guys my drying racks and my herb stash later on. I'm so excited about them, really excited to make them into lotions, and I've already been using a ton of them as seasonings in my sauces that I've been canning. I've been trying to water these tomatoes pretty much every day. They're setting tons of fruit. There's just like a nice lull, which I'm not mad about. I was drowning in tomatoes, finally got most of them canned. And so I'm having a lull, but these will all start ripening again now that I've been watering them every day. The one bonus to having drier weather is that I have not had to spray these tomatoes at all for fungus, like for weeks. The dry parts that you see are just parts that were sprayed before they had fungus before. I sprayed them. The spray killed the fungus, and so the leaves got brown, but the fungus is not spreading. So in that sense, it has made some of my garden routines a little bit easier, but I would way rather have fungus than have to water my garden all the time. I also don't like to put a sprinkler on my tomatoes because the leaves themselves don't love to get wet, for sure not every day. So I just try to water at the base of the plant. I'll give you guys an update on all the canning that I've been doing. Oh, there's a snake. I've been doing a ton of canning, gallons and gallons of sauce. I'll update you guys on that later on in the video. My carrot seedlings are looking pretty good. This heat, I really have to keep them watered because tiny little seedlings like that, the heat will just kind of dry them right off if I don't keep them watered really well. These are just on the verge of starting to need to be thinned. The drought definitely has not completely shut my garden down. I still have tons of stuff that are needing to be harvested out here.
We'll get back to some of this stuff later, but just wanted to pick me a Jimmy Nardello pepper, my favorite, and they are doing really, really well this year. We've still got a lot to show you yet in this video, and it's stuff that we're really excited about, but I'm gonna jump in here real quick and tell you about the sponsor of this video, Birch Living. They're having a Labor Day sale, so now is the perfect time to upgrade your sleep. We've had our Birch mattress for almost a year now, and the difference it's made in our sleep is pretty impressive. We have the Birch Luxe natural mattress, which is an upgrade to their original natural mattress, and we absolutely love it. It's so comfortable, and we just love knowing that we're not sleeping on something that's off-gassing toxic chemicals while we're sleeping. Other mattresses use fiberglass as a flame retardant. Birch uses wool because it's naturally flame resistant. And there are no polyurethane foams in a Birch mattress like there are in other mattresses. Wool is also hypoallergenic, and it can help you sleep cooler, which is really nice at a time like this. It gets shipped for free right to your door, and it's super easy to set up, but if you do have trouble lifting things, they also offer in-home setup and removal of your old mattress just to make it as convenient as possible for you. You also get a 100-night sleep trial and a 25-year warranty, so you can't really lose. Go to the link in our description to get in on their Labor Day sale. You get 25% off plus 2 free EcoRest pillows. That's birchliving.com/morethanfarmers to find out more about this limited time offer. Since Hero is up front right now, Tirza gives him water every day. He's drinking a lot in this heat, but I think he's also dumping some because sometimes we need to fill the water up again in the evening. Izzy gets food and water to the chickens up in this front pasture. We've kept them up here in case of hawk attacks. We had some problems with that in the spring and in years past, but thankfully nothing recently. It's Cade's job to gather the eggs. The young hens are laying now, and it's nice to finally be getting more eggs. I've got more to say about the chickens, but I'll do that later when I come out to move them into a new spot. I'm not sure if we really talked about it or not, but we replaced a couple of our apple trees this spring, plus we added a cherry tree and a plum tree. Those get watered even when we're not in a drought. The buckets beside the trees have a small hole in the bottom to water the trees more slowly. This would normally be the time that Cade gives the ducks water, but we're doing something new with the ducks. The ducks are doing really well. They've gotten big, and we've kept them in this pen. It's supposed to be kind of a temporary pen, and it's ended up being kind of temporarily permanent, I guess. We've kept them in here now until they're bigger like this, but we're gonna start letting them out. I've done it for a day now, and at the same time that we're training the ducks, we're also training Cowboy. To train Cowboy, we've got a collar on her, and I've got this remote. I don't ever use the shocking thing. It usually just takes a beep or a little vibration, and she will stop doing whatever she's not supposed to be doing. So we're just keeping an eye on her and just making sure she doesn't go after him. So far, she's doing great. And the cool thing is that her doghouse is right over here, right next to the ducks. So she's used to being around the ducks, even though they're in a fence like this. So I think that's helped, and she's a good dog, so I think she'll leave them alone. The ducks have also started laying eggs, which is super cool. Duck eggs are really good. They make awesome baked goods. The only problem with these is they're laying them in here in this nasty mud mess. You will notice that we don't have a swimming pool in here anymore. We had one in here so that they had something to splash around in, but I put it up here in the front yard now to give them something to do to get away from their pen area. Because when I first opened up the fence, they just kind of hung out, played in their pool down there by their pen. And we want them to like be roaming around. That's what we wanted ducks for, to eat bugs. They'll probably come up here after a while and start splashing around, and we'll just keep moving this thing around the front yard. And this is again, kind of another temporary thing to see how it goes and figure out exactly where we want to put them and stuff.
The raspberries are still coming in strong. I'm picking a few pounds almost every single day. I do feel like they've slowed down a little bit since it's been so dry, but I've been watering them. There for a while, I was making tons of raspberry lemonade concentrate for the winter, for Christmas presents, parties, things like that. But now I have moved on to making jam. Yesterday, I made 12 pounds of raspberries into jam. Those 12 pounds were from just 2 pickings. So these are definitely still going gangbusters. It's been really hot, and when it's really hot, they ripen really, really fast. I can hardly keep up with them. If I pick it in the morning, sometimes by evening it looks like I should pick them again. I never pick twice a day, but they do ripen very fast. Yesterday I actually canned up some jam instead of throwing it all in the freezer. I normally don't can jam, I usually just freeze it, but my freezers are getting kind of full because we put sweet corn in there this year and peaches and just some extra things that we don't normally do. So I just decided to can some and have it on the shelves. Also, Cody and the kids get mad if they want jam and it's not thawed. So I was like, well, we'll use this in a pinch. So the experiment between Superb and 4 jars and Ball continues. I'm just using some of each here and there. We'll see how they do over the winter. So far, everything's been canning super, super well. I have canned gallons of sauce with Superb, and every single jar lid except for one has sealed. That's better than Ball usually does for me. My canning shelves are filling up very quickly. Last week, I did a whole bunch of canning. I canned 8 gallons of tomato sauces in all. I decided this year that I'm gonna try to do just a few like massive canning days rather than a few small ones sprinkled throughout the harvesting season. Cody's at home. He's not actually helping me with the canning at this point because he has too much other stuff to do, but the kids are older and I'm able to concentrate better with fewer distractions. So far I'm really liking it, although at the end of those massive canning days, like I canned like 4 gallons of sauce per day, I'm pretty tired, but it's worth it. Over here I've got ketchup left over from last year, so I'm not actually gonna can any of that. Our kids and Cody and I all like the barbecue sauce so good that we take it over ketchup almost every time. So I just do a little bit of ketchup like every other year and we're good with that. This is marinara. I've done most of this year and I'm planning to do another 3 gallons of marinara sauce before the year is over. Here is all of my barbecue sauce. We are barbecue sauce fanatics. I've done 6 gallons so far, and I think that's all I'm gonna do with the barbecue. I'm pretty sure this will be enough for a year, but we went through this much last year, so it's a lot. Here's the salsa, and most of this is left over from last year. We don't eat a ton of salsa, it's just not really our thing. I don't love like Mexican style food all that much, so we just don't use a ton of it. So last year I did a whole bunch and I think that's gonna tide us over for this winter yet. This is the fun part. I've got a lot of dried herbs. Here I have, this is apple mint. This is parsley. I also gave a bunch of dried parsley to my mom. This here and this are all chocolate peppermint. Those will make really good teas if we get the flu or head colds or anything like that. This is dill and this is red raspberry leaf tea. And I'm also gonna have chamomile tea, an echinacea tea blend for flu symptoms that I'm really excited about. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, and I have a bunch of dried basil upstairs that I've been using for canning, plus I'm gonna be drying more of that. I'm going to also take you over, show you all of my drying racks, everything on there, and I'm gonna be putting some of that into jars today. I canned a whole bunch of pickles from our garden. This is super fun because this is the first year that I've had enough to actually put into jars. These, we've already eaten through a whole bunch of pickles, but well, there'll be some for winter. Another first for me was canning some peaches. We got a couple boxes of peaches from, I think it was Georgia. They were so good. And then also some peaches from my mom's tree, which was super exciting because those didn't have any sprays or anything. They were grown locally. So I put a whole bunch of peaches in my freezer, and then I also canned a few peaches for Cody. I don't love canned peaches, but Cody and the kids think it's the best thing ever. So I did some for them. And then I also have a whole bunch of raspberry lemonade concentrate here. One of these will make close to like, I don't know, 3/4 of a gallon of lemonade. So good with sparkling water. And I'm probably gonna be doing more of these. I've done way more of these, we just keep drinking them. So they just keep dwindling because we keep, every week we do a couple of them. And then I have raspberry jam. I am planning to can more jam this year just because my freezers are full. Gonna have to excuse Cody for parking his weights right in front of my drying rack. Okay, this is basil. This is my calendula that needs to get into oil. More basil, more calendula and chamomile. I absolutely love chamomile for tummy aches and stomach flu. That's the first thing I give my kiddos if they are vomiting or anything like that. I've got rosemary, echinacea, and oregano on this one. Here I've got a bunch more apple mint, if I can get it out. I'm gonna go ahead and get this calendula infusing. Later on this winter or this fall, when things start slowing down, I have the goal of making some body butter with tallow and calendula infused oil. You can't fill your jar too full because herbs will expand as they soak up the oil. So I'm gonna go with this for now. I didn't get just a ton of lavender this year, so I'm just gonna add this into my infusion here. That'll smell really good in a body butter. I think this is one of the things that I'm the most excited for, is making an echinacea tea that's really good for boosting the immune system and stuff. So if you feel a cold coming on, you can drink some of this tea. I've tried drinking just the echinacea flower tea and it's so good. I think technically the root is the most potent part of the plant, but this was the first year for my plant, so I wasn't gonna pull up the root. This is how it looks. I think it's a really pretty tea and it actually tastes very pleasant. I'm gonna mix it with some apple mint and maybe just a tiny bit of chamomile just for like a soothing, fun drink in the evening. Something really calming and relaxing. I did save a few of the leaves as well. Some of the younger fresh leaves, those are also supposed to have medicinal properties. This here is rosemary, and seasonings that I'm going to actually be putting on like chicken or steak or into food, I really like to actually pull them off the stems because you don't want to bite into hard pieces of stem in your food. But then when it comes to teas, I'm much less picky because those you're just gonna strain out anyways. Whew, that is strong. This rosemary will be so good on chicken. Okay, next I'm going to do a bunch more basil. I still have tons and tons of basil in the garden. This basil has so much flavor compared to the store-bought dried basil that you get. It's absolutely amazing. Next is my sage. Super excited to have sage because we don't eat a ton of sausage, but I still do love those sausage flavors. So I like to add sage and smoked paprika and things to hamburger, and it makes it taste a little bit like sausage. I just have a little bit of the oregano, so I'm gonna do it in my coffee grinder instead of the blender. And now we've got apple mint. This is my all-time favorite herb to grow. Probably an herb that we use more than anything else. We love this tea. The kids use it for tea parties with some honey. It's so good. This infused calendula oil has been sitting now for over a month. I don't know the exact date, it's just been weeks, so I'm gonna strain this off now. Just gonna run it through a cotton flour sack towel to get all the little bits and pieces out of it. It's beautiful yellow. I'm gonna store this now in my cupboard, and then I'm going to use it when I make my body butter with tallow. I'm just gonna use this infused oil in the body butter recipe. It'll make it this beautiful yellow, and the calendula has lots of really good skin soothing properties. Our sweet potatoes are looking pretty good. I'm gonna guess that these are close to ready to harvest. We'll probably check in on these next week. These here have been looking kind of droopy even if I'm watering them. I think they're just really ready to get dug and put inside. These sweet potatoes here were planted just a little bit later. They're also starting to show some signs of wear and tear, so I think these are probably close to ready as well. They're looking amazing. We've also got some loofahs that are starting to turn colors. I think they're supposed to turn completely brown before you take them inside. So hopefully these are starting to dry out here. Pretty much just can't tell if the sweet potatoes are ready to be dug until you actually just dig in there. Quick update on my next set of cucumbers. Honestly, they're looking pretty terrible. Oh man, definitely look worse than the first set of cucumbers that I did. I mean, they have some flowers on them. They might have a few cucumbers for us, but the beetles just instantly attack them. They're looking very, very bad. To be fair, I haven't either been paying any attention to them except for watering them. So our butternuts are ready to be taken inside, at least a whole bunch of them. These plants still aren't dead. They're not covered in squash beetles. I have no idea what I did right this year, but I'm so pleased with these butternut squash.
This is the first year that we have trellised them like this.
It is.
And
so
they are huge. We have never grown butternuts this big.
Nice.
That's big, but this one is even bigger. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That is huge.
When they're on the ground like this one was, they tend to have some damage underneath. The ones that are hanging are just spotless and they'll last forever in the root cellar.
Put some oomph into it. There you go. Just don't cut my fingers. That just barely fit through there.
Is that the biggest one?
I know. Let's go see.
That'll make like 3 pumpkin pies. I also want to quickly get some peppers. These here will turn colors. They'll turn red if you leave them out long enough. They're the California Wonder, but they're a thick-walled pepper and they're really good green too, so.
It looks like the kids are keeping the Jimmy Nardello bush picked pretty clean. I got that one this morning.
Check out this basil bush. This is the biggest basil bush I've ever grown. It's one basil plant, like one basil seed made this massive bush. I just keep it trimmed and it just keeps on just like multiplying.
This is where the beans were. They're all gone. We did those in the last video. Here's our popcorn. It's got some really nice ears on here, but this is not ready to harvest yet. This needs to like all turn yellow. These need to get all dried out before we harvest them and take them in. We'll have our very own popcorn in the basement. That is one of the most fun things to do. These things are heavy. £6 pounds, 12 ounces. Ooh, 6 pounds, 15.5 ounces. We have a winner! 7 pounds, 12 ounces for this butternut squash.
That's bigger than my babies were. These squash are just gonna stay out here on the porch. They're gonna get like partial sun, just a little bit of sun every now and then, which is totally fine. Some of these that aren't completely ripe are gonna finish ripening. The ones that are ripe, they just, the curing process helps the shell or the peeling, whatever you wanna call it, to just harden. And the squash, a butternut squash will last for months and months. I've had a butternut squash last for over like a solid complete year on into the next year before. These are really, really great self-sufficiency food because if you don't have squash bugs, at least, they're really easy to grow. They last forever and they taste really good in a pie. These onions over here are almost done curing. These up here aren't. These still have another 3 weeks on them. These down here are very close. As soon as this is completely dried out, probably another week I'll give them. We'll be taking these down to the root cellar. We do have a whole bunch of other stuff down in the root cellar right now that's curing, so we're gonna head down there and show that to you guys.
We've got all of our potatoes curing on the shelves here. They need about another week until they're really good and cured, and they'll go in the crates, put back on the shelves so they take up a lot less space. We keep coming down here and checking on them, seeing some nasty stuff right here. Looks like there's a potato above that one that is dripping nasty juice.
Ew.
Oh, that's disgusting. That's got maggots on it too. Be right back. So this one should be cleaned off and it will probably be fine. Cut that part off. So yeah, we just need to keep checking these, make sure everything's okay. There was a couple in this bin up here, like I'm even seeing one now that's got some mold stuff on it. That's exactly why any of them that have a bad gash in them or whatever, you know, if they got stuck with a pitchfork or they're really small, some of them don't last long, or a big green spot, put them separate. We don't want to mix them with these because they'll make these go bad. And over in this side of the cold cellar, we have our beans laying out to get fully dry before we shell those. We're gonna use a sheet or a pillowcase or something and shell those once the pods are really truly dry. If they're green, they're not gonna shell very well and they will have moisture in them. And I am planning to put a door in between these two rooms. It's something that just never got done for as many years as it's been here. This room's been down here for several years. Never got the door in, but we wanna be able to store our potatoes and our onions separate. So that hopefully that will make so the potatoes last longer. The gases that the onions give off can make these like sprout and stuff. So I want to get that done pretty soon because those onions are about ready to come down here. The temperature in here actually feels pretty good. We had a cold snap a while back that I think helped to really cool it down. It's been warm now the last few days, supposed to be warm for the next few days, but I think it'll stay cool and then next week it's supposed to cool down again. I don't have a thermometer in here, which is really dumb. It would be nice to know exactly what the degrees are, but it's definitely cooler in here than anywhere in the house, and we keep it dark so that they keep from sprouting. It is high time for the chickens to be moved. They don't get moved nearly as often now that we don't have as many chickens. It's kind of awkward almost, because before it was more like that intensive grazing. I'd move them pretty often and the grass would grow back, and now it's like, well, in a week or two they don't hardly do anything to the grass with only like a dozen chickens or so, and so I don't move them very often. But it still works and they're still doing good things for the pasture. I can see places out in the pasture where they were before that the grass looks a lot better than places where they were not. So the chicks that we got this spring just started laying a couple weeks ago. Oh, come on. And they just now started laying more consistently, so we're gonna get rid of the older chickens. I've actually got somebody coming this evening to pick them up. I've got them in this separate pen here. So he's gonna come and take those, and what we'll be left with is like 14 laying hens, 1 rooster. Actually, I'm keeping 2 of the older hens. There's a couple Easter eggers. I wasn't able to get any Easter eggers this spring, and I really like the green eggs, and they're still laying well, so we're gonna keep a couple of those. I have a love-hate relationship with these nets. They are nice, portable and all that stuff, but they are a pain. A lot of people will butcher their old hens. To me, it's just not worth it. They are tough and they require a long time in the crock pot, and since we raise our own broiler chickens, it's just really not worth it to me to go to all the bother of butchering a really tough chicken, because the broiler chickens that we raise are really, really good, and I'm just fine with just sticking with those. I'd have to say that we do pretty well with some things on our homestead and maybe not so well with a few other things. So I'm going to show you a few of those things now, and I guess you can probably tell one of the things I'm going to show you is the bees. We're going to get to that in a little bit. First, I want to stop right here by the grapes and show these to you. You can see this one here is trellised pretty decent, but some of these others I did not get to trellising them, and they're just really not looking very healthy. I feel like they need a good bit of compost down there. We had put a weed cloth down here at the bottom, and so they didn't get composted after we put that weed cloth down. So we want to pull that weed cloth up and put a bunch of compost under there this fall. So hopefully next year they do better. The grapes are gone now, but there was actually a good bit of grapes on there. The kids just pretty much picked them as soon as they were ready and ate them. They were really, really tasty. They had seeds in them, so a little bit annoying just to eat fresh, but we really want to make grape juice, so that'll be a lot of fun hopefully next year. I'm not sure what all I'm going to run into out there. I have not checked these like I should have this year. I've got a swarm trap out in the backfield that had a swarm in it earlier this spring. I was down there several days ago, looked up, didn't see any bees flying in and out. I don't know if that means they're gone. I really did not want to do this today. It is so hot out here, and this bee suit is not helping. But I decided to man up and get it done. It needs to be done, and I wanted to show you guys. Dropping the frames off real quick so we can take the wagon back to get that swarm trap. Just look in here. There are a lot of bees on the outside of that hive and some on the outside of that one, so they're flying in and out. That looks good. It looks hopeful. I'm not seeing any activity up there. That does not look good. Nothing buzzing, not very heavy. That's disappointing. Holy cow. Ants. So obviously whatever bees were in here left. I know there was bees in here this spring. I had seen them even for, I thought it was even like a couple months when I would come back here and just take a peek. I just never had time to come get them.
I was very disappointed about that swarm. I had hoped to go into winter with at least 3 hives. I suppose that's what I get for procrastinating. My excitement got back up though when I got into the first frame of the first hive.
There's the queen right there, first frame.
I went through both hives and they both actually looked pretty good. Besides needing to take out some comb that was built a little funky, I didn't see any issues. They seemed healthy and there was a good mix of honey, brood, and pollen. I absolutely love the bees. What they can accomplish is inspiring to me. Besides when I'm stressed out about figuring out how to take care of them, they're also very relaxing. I could watch them for hours. I hope we gave you a really good picture of what it looks like on our homestead, all the things that we have going on. But if you want to see how a day in our life looks like actually doing the chores and everything like that, check out this video right here. That was a lot of likes, wasn't it? No big honey harvest here, but I did take a few frames. Someday soon, maybe Michelle will make some salves or lotions with her herbs and the beeswax. Stay tuned for that.
This is like normal size. This is 2024 size.